Hello, my name is Walter Viola. I created this video in order to explain how professional websites and professional firms have been created to actually aid in the destruction of a business or an individual's reputation. In many cases, such damage that is not repairable, and adding pain on top of insult, these businesses or individuals are being forced to pay large sums of money in order to get out from underneath this. So this video is going to go through those steps of first providing you with understanding of how this is possible, and then two, coming up with some solutions. So this isn't a video of ranting and raving. This is more of a video to bring people together collectively, both those that have been injured in this way and those that, thank God, haven't and don't want to be in the future. So the steps I'm going to go through in this first video is, the first one is how a law was passed in 1998 that forever changed the ability for people to protect their reputation, whether it's professional or individually. Number two, how firms are using this law to profit on the pain of people that are being destroyed. Three, how people as a collective body can join together, and this is the most important part, to stop this from continuing to ruin their lives or possibly happen to other people in their lives in the future. And fourth, the possibility of actually petitioning an insurance company to create an insurance policy that would provide legal insurance to pay for all those costs that they're going to incur when they're attacked through either cyberbullying or these reputation destruction firms that are out there intentionally. So most of this video, you won't have to look at my face. I will be putting up reference information and potential web links and contact information. I've actually decided to create a YouTube site that will allow for many more videos to be provided by other professional individuals, especially certain law firms that have focused on this matter and how serious of a matter this is going to be. So follow along, and I can guarantee this is going to be worth your while, especially if it's happened to you. If not, maybe forwarding on to someone that you know that it has happened to. Okay, let's start. We live in a very interesting time. There used to be a day when people were cautious about what they said in public, or even how they said it. If someone wronged you, you wouldn't take out a full-page advertisement in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Chicago Tribune to attack this individual, because it was not only time-consuming, but cost money. But with the advent of the internet blogs, the chat lines, and the social media sites, it appears all caution has been thrown to the wind. If you are mad, you simply turn on your computer, get on the internet, gain access to a website, and start airing all your bad feelings about an individual or a business or a group of people with absolutely no hesitation, because there's nothing to fear. If you do it anonymously, no one will ever know you did it. And if the social site or website is not forcing to identify you, all the better. If they don't do anything to corroborate the information or confirm that information that you're posting on it, well, even better. You have nothing to lose. So sites like Facebook are notorious for cyberbullying, and still others are even more damaging, like RipOffReport.com. The difference is that everyone knows that Facebook is merely a social site, and not to take the constant ranting and raving about certain people with too much legitimacy. In short, someone seems mad and they want to get back at someone for whatever reason. Although it is still damaging to the person being attacked, it doesn't come with much legitimacy. But if I told you that there are websites that use this medium as a means to make significant money and can make their site appear as if they are a legitimate site, or disguise themselves with certain legal terminology and sometimes even governmental terminology to appear that they are an official site and are accountable, but in reality have no accountability, have no legal precedent, and whose only intention is to allow for the constant slander and libel of individuals so that they can profit from this by requiring people to get on their site to pay for additional services to arbitrate or mediate, or even feed other firms on the internet that have been built for reputation repair. You probably wouldn't believe it. But even if you could believe it, you probably would say, well, if this ever happened to anyone, they deserved it. They must have done something that would have led to such a vicious attack. I, like you, would have believed it too. But unlike you, it actually happened to me. Now let's make it real personal and apply it to you. And say that a business acquaintance, a colleague, a competitor, an arch enemy, or a defendant in a legal case that you are involved in wanted to destroy your reputation. Would you believe it's as easy as that person signing up on a website using a fictitious email address, posting anonymous whatever they wanted to say about you, no matter how damaging, and no matter that you would have no recourse to stop it or have it removed from the internet, and that it would be on the internet forever and ever? If I told you that one day your productive business or your profession or your personal reputation could be taken away from you within a day, would you believe it? Well, you probably wouldn't. And if it happened to others, you would probably determine that they must have done something to deserve it. Why else would someone go through such lengths to destroy someone's reputation? Once again, I, like you, would have believed that that's not possible. I would have believed that if it did happen, it was happening to someone that deserved it. But once again, until it happened to me. So I come before you to tell you that after 33 years as a professional, a year ago, that is exactly what happened to me. And within a period of 6 months, my practice was completely destroyed, and I had no other choice than to sell assets and find other means of making a living. I would have never dreamed that was possible. So the obvious response would have to be that this just can't be true. There is no way that someone would be allowed to publish unsubstantiated information about another person without suffering some type of exposure for slander or libel. Well, this is where you need to know about the new law, or not so new. It was enacted in 1998 that made this 1996. Now, some refer to it as 98 because of all the appeals that went on when they first enacted it. So the Communications Decency Act is also referred to as the CDA. Now, this was an attempt at that time for the United States Congress to regulate both pornographic material on the internet and then also to address the potential for free speech on the internet. And it went hand in hand with, or it was coming around at the same time as the Telecommunications Act of 1996. But what's important to understand is that the latter part of that, which is called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, was not part of the original legislation. and it was added in a conference later on through the House, where it had been separately introduced by both a Republican, Cox, and a Democrat, Wyden. And it was proposed as the Internet Freedom and Family Empowerment Act, and it passed by near unanimous vote on the floor. If they only knew what was going to come out of this. In addition to the protection for online service providers and users for actions against them based on the content of third parties, they stated that, in part, no provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as a publisher or speak of any information provided by another information content provider. Effectively, this immunizes both the internet service providers and the internet users from liability for torts committed by others using their website or online forum, even if the provider fails to take action after receiving actual notice of harmful or offensive content. So they actually referred to these as Good Samaritan provisions in order to restrict the liability, okay, to the ISPs. All right, internet service providers. Okay, now where this really gets relevant is in July 23rd of 2013, the attorney generals of 47 states sent a letter to Congress requesting that the criminal and civil immunity of this Section 230 be removed. But the ACLU wrote of their proposal to have it removed, if Section 230 is stripped of its protection, it wouldn't take long for the vibrant culture of free speech to disappear from the web. Okay, this is the law. And if you look at the timing of 1996 and the actual litigation around it through all the way to 1998, you'll see firms like RipOffReport.com actually coming into existence in 1998. So excuse me for taking so much time on the legal side, number one, but it's very important because none of this happens without that law. And the whole idea of free speech coupled with the ability to limit the liability of that website provider and the people that post that information is quite revolutionary, because what they did by enacting that provision was basically take away all the other people's rights, or at least those people that were now being slandered, or there was some sort of libel against them. They just basically have no recourse. Now this is all being litigated today, and they're trying to punch holes into that, and I'll actually provide you later on towards the end some of the court cases that have come up, especially in the Supreme Court, that says that they are not immunized from that, because the way they're conducting themselves is not proper under the act itself. So just wanted to finish that before we actually go into how firms are using this law to profit. As referenced earlier, I just wanted to give you some quick legal cases that pretty much give a good flavor of what's been going on out there. In July of 2013, the government of India ordered a block on accessing the RipOffReport.com site, but the block was removed the next month. I mean, this is very telling how an organization has legal deep pockets that are big enough that they can actually get a country to reverse that order that quick. The same in May of 2014, the Australian search engine Yahoo blocked the RipOff Report site after multiple defamation complaints, but once again it was unblocked after only a week. In in the case where RipOff Report .com was unsuccessfully sued or had unsuccessfully sued consumers and their attorneys for malicious prosecution in the Federal District Court of Phoenix, Arizona in 2011. And in August of 2015, the United States Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals published an order affirming the lower court's order in dismissing that case. Again, that's actually very telling. It shows that the legal system is starting to catch up on it. In 2015, the United States District Court for the District of Utah stated that although the RipOff Report homepage shows the taglines "by consumers, for consumers," and "don't let them get away with it, let the truth be known," the site allows competitors and not just consumers to post comments. In the case of website pages of Public Citizen, it was noted that the RipOff Report has received some criticism of its corporate advocacy program, the Business Remediation and Consumer Satisfaction Program, particularly whether that RipOff Report sufficiently discloses all the facts that would influence the public's perception of the program overall. So that's just a quick flavor, and again, there's much more out there, but I just wanted to give you a sense of some of the legal cases. Now we know how these websites are able to exist. So let's understand the components of what their profit motive is. I mean, surely they're not out there because they found a loophole in the law and they just like destroying people's lives, right? Well, the profits are substantial. First of all, if you can create a website that looks as if it has a legal basis to it, and it's also very shocking, that sells print, so to speak. So the first thing they do is when you come into their websites, like RipOff Report, they have this wording that makes them look as if they are part of the whole investigation, that they really have great efforts in going out and getting all this information. In reality, all they're doing is they're allowing anybody to access their site, provide a email address, which most people will use a fake address, not their real address. And once they select that everything they're saying is true and accurate, that's the extent of corroborating anything that this individual is going to post on their website. So why would they do that? Well, for profit reasons, it only makes sense to have a lot of volume on this site, because volume means Google ratings. Google ratings means more ability to advertise your other services. So when people access the site, their first requirement is to write a report. Write about what is it that you want to disclose about somebody or somebody's business. That report becomes the destructive material because it is out there for everyone to see forever. And I'll explain why they refuse to allow people to take it down after the fact. But the idea is that report is what draws all the attention to their site. Once the report is published, the unsuspected person that just got trashed on the internet usually finds out because someone will call and say, "Hey, I Googled your name and I didn't realize you're a deviant, fraud, bad person," you know. And if it's never happened to you, I hope it never does, but when you get that call, your stomach drops. You just can't believe it's true, right? Well, now you have the right to go out to that site because firms like RipOff Report are actually encouraging you to come because here is where they're going to make their money, you can go to the bottom of that report and actually rebuttal it. Now, the rebuttal isn't provided as a legitimate means to rebuttal what somebody says about you. Matter of fact, it makes it even worse for you, because when you do put your rebuttal in, it keeps pushing that to the top of the Google count due to activity. Now, what will generally happen is you will try to attempt to go to the website like RipOff Report and say, hey, you have to take this down. And they're going to say, oh, sorry, we can't do that. And on their site, they cite all the legal reasons. They brag about how they will never take the truth down because of free speech. But the interesting part is, if you pay money, they do have a pool of arbitrators. And these arbitrators will try to do their very best to see if they can negotiate the right resolve for you. As a matter of fact, Bloomberg's Business made a very accurate statement about this. They said, you know, this is a mechanism on how to make money rebuilding reputations, but you first have to destroy them. Which is why the federal court stated that victims are probably or have probable cause to sue for extortion and racketeering. That's effectively what this is. Pay me, right? But the interesting part is they also have investigative services that you can pay for, and you can pay anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000 in the form of this arbitration program. So this is where they make their money. And the more that they battle people trying to get this down, the more attention they get, the more people write about this on the internet, the more attention they get. They win, 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 win in this scenario. They're always making money. And accordingly, because of that, they have a lot of money to fight you in court. Now for step 3, which is how people can join together to stop this from ruining more innocent people's lives. There's actually a couple different ways. One is to actually get the law changed. I mean, this would require petitioning your congressman in mass, and probably through state-by-state petitions, or through the Attorney General's office. I think as more of these cases do get litigated and more legal firms decide they actually do want to start practicing this type of law, because many don't, because it's very complicated in the timing of it, it's going to be an inch-by-inch process. But if everyone just sits back and continues to be allowed to be victims in this, and do nothing to stand up, this will just continue. You know, I'd almost say that this will just become the norm. You know, everybody eventually is going to find themselves on one of these websites and maybe that is the answer itself, where it'll become so bad that nobody's going to find it at all credible, and it'll lose its effectiveness. As of now, it's highly effective, and it is doing a lot of destruction. The other way people can join together is by pulling together in a class action lawsuit. Standing alone, it's almost impossible to beat these sites. They just have too much money. Coming together and getting a law firm that's willing to put a class action suit together is exactly what's necessary in David, fighting the Goliath. The rulings that have been coming out of the courts lately is they're trying to curtail this, but it's not nearly enough. The courts have to get much more aggressive on this matter. The fourth and final point is the creation of a legal insurance for the losses an individual is going to incur due to this cyber slander. Speaking for myself, I never imagined I'd be spending the money I am um, trying to get my reputation repaired. And I don't think most people would be able to do it. It would literally be a case where they would not be able to come up with uh, the 15 to 20 to 30 to $50,000. And in addition to that, what a lot of these reputation repair services are providing is only really a year's program. Every year you got to almost start over and keep on working it so it works it off that Google count sheet from the first page to the second page. In most cases, a lot of these reputation repair services can't guarantee getting you beyond the second page or onto the second page of a Google search. So between that and potentially having the need to hire a law firm within the statute of limitations period to file a lawsuit, which is generally 1 year in most states, you're going to need money to actually hire a lawyer and file a lawsuit to press them to remove it from their site and or to petition Google to have them remove it from their site. Also, it is not to the advantage for Google to want to work with you. Their business is hits on the internet. That's what makes them hum. So they're not going to be in any hurry to stop websites like RipOffReport.com. And they're not going to be in any hurry to take it off of their site. So it's not only actually a legal issue or legal cost with battling a website like RipOffReport.com, but also with Google. Accordingly, this starts to get very expensive, and accordingly, like any other insurance, you pay a premium just in the event this eventually happens to you. And I think this is going to be a pretty regular thing within the next couple years, but we're doing more research on that. Okay, so as a final wrap up on this, and this is a pretty long video, I wanted to really put as much out there as I could, because when I actually started research a year ago, all I was able to find were a lot of firms trying to either sell me on how they could repair my reputation, or just all the bad situations that were going out there. So I was flying kind of blind. So I'm going to put some additional links so that you can reference as to consumer affairs and the top 99 complaints about these types of websites like RipOffReport.com. Also other media files that either the news or the newsprint has written about this. If I had to give my opinion now going through it, and having to go through this by myself, I really wasn't getting a lot of information on the internet other than from reputation repair type firms or groups that were acting as if they were taking you through the logical steps, but they ultimately pointed you to a reputation repair service. In my case, I would say that was a waste of money. There was one comment made on Consumer Affairs where the gentleman said, you know, after going through all this, I would not hire a lawyer. I would not pay a reputation repair service. I would not try to approach the website that destroyed my reputation. Instead, I'd put all my efforts in trying to get the law changed, because nothing will stop this. And more money will be spent by those people that were injured through this. So I would have to concur with that position, because I spent quite a bit of money and got very little in return for it.